Well, folks, happy Tuesday. We've got some really interesting news and good news and important news for all you folks. So you may want to grab a pen and pencil, like I often say here, because in our segments today, we're going to be talking about the fall and getting ready for winter, your vehicles for sure, and all the intricacies of that. We're going to talk about regular gas engines. We're going to talk about EVs, electric vehicles coming up. Bruce Eccles, been around since before dirt, is going to talk to us today. Right. We're at Eccles Auto Service in Dundas. And first of all, I think it's still too early to put snow tires on. What do you think? Because you've got them all out here for today.
I got to be honest, you are the weatherman, and it is pretty darn nice weather right now. But what they say is, once the road temperature drops below 7 degrees, so yes, it's a little warmer now, but this is the time to start considering putting your tires on. You're going to watch the next couple weeks, the temperature's going to drop down.
Yes.
And that's when you want to have your winter tires on.
So how critical is it? Like, is it really a big deal? Is 7 degrees that important? And are the tires that much better, winter tires that much better?
Well, the situation is they are better when the roads are cold. They're designed for that. Now, frankly, the other reason is because it doesn't matter where you go. The shops are busy right now, so you want to get your car booked in and get it done. And then when you get your car in for the winter tires, that's when you want to do your servicing. That's when you want to get the car ready for winter. You know, check your battery and check your cooling system and your wiper blades, and just a visual inspection of the entire car, like a comprehensive inspection. Get it ready for winter.
Okay, so I guess right at this point, although we still have, today and, the next couple of days still going to be reasonably warm, but then I notice it gets tailing off to more seasonal temperatures, 12 or 13 degrees as we get into the weekend. And maybe next week it could drop a little bit more. So maybe, if nothing else, book your time in with your local service center to get them changed in the next couple of weeks.
Well said. This is the time to book your car and get your car ready for winter. You've got 2 or 3 weeks right now. Like the middle of November, the weather can change tomorrow, but probably mid-November, that's when we're actually we're going to see probably some snow flurries and stuff like that.
Okay. Now, at the same time, as you change and put the winters on, you're going to look at your summer tires and say, is it time to change? Is this a good time to buy next year's tires?
Is
there any kind of sales or anything going on?
That's a great question. Now, I'll be honest. I think right now there's rebates on winter tires, but is it a good time to buy a summer tire? I would suggest it probably is, because if it's like everything else in this world right now, things are going up in price. So if you can lock down a good price on a set of summer tires and you need them, put them on now and store them for the winter and put them on in the spring.
Okay, so that's a good question to answer or ask your dealer when you go in there and have those tires changed on a winter tires. So, okay, winter tires, we talked about that. Next segment, we're going to come back. We're going to talk about getting your car ready for fall, because it's, the last couple of years, maybe people haven't been driven so much. Maybe they haven't been so up to date on keeping, conditions on their vehicles up to speed and that kind of a thing. What do they need to do coming this fall? We'll be back here at Eccles Auto Service in Dundas in just a few minutes. And we're back here at Eccles Auto Service in Dundas, and this is the traditional look of what cars have these days. They have lots of leaves in them, and things need to be cleaned out, and the battery's kind of messy looking right here, Bruce. So just an idea of what people should be doing, because I think, this is just my thought, over the last couple of years with COVID, that people just have not been driving so much, maybe a little less attentive to car maintenance. What should they be doing now? Am I on the right ballpark here, or am I way out in left field?
Well, Steve, I'll tell you something that's interesting that we've kind of nicknamed it. We have had cars come in here and we call it like COVID breaks, for example. When people were their cars sitting so long, they're working out of the house, they're not going out, and you know what it was like at the very start. So cars were getting towed in here with the brakes seized up and stuff like that because it hadn't moved.
Right.
Now, we're starting to see things are opening up, obviously, and so we're actually seeing people commit more to maintenance. And I think a lot of it's based on the fact they can't get a new car, or they maybe priced a new car and they got to order it and wait 8 months or whatever, this microchip shortage thing. So we're actually seeing more people commit to maintenance now than we've seen probably forever.
Okay, I like to start with the battery. I'm not a maintenance guy, I'm not good at knowing things, but this one kind of looks like most batteries is kind of dirty and rusty and blah, blah, blah.
So the first thing we're going to do there is, we've tested the battery, as you can see, and it tests okay. It's still a good battery. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take these connections off and we're going to clean them, get that corrosion off, because this is a potential no start. Cold morning, customer jumps in the car, these are corroded. Nothing when you turn the key.
So even though it does have the amps to crank, it's not going to work because
that's correct. Once that is corroded enough, it's an open circuit, then you got nothing. So we'll clean those connections up. That'll be part of our preventive maintenance for the winter.
Okay, and we used to do the traditional thing, which was change the rotary things in there and change the spark plugs, but that doesn't
plugs,
happen
points,
anymore, does it?
no. Everything's all solid state, and so the spark plugs, a lot of these vehicles have spark plugs that'll almost last the life of the vehicle. Now, we will be checking them once they get a certain mileage on it. We will start to look at them, but for the most part, probably the first 5 or 6 years and under 100,000 K, those spark plugs are just fine.
Okay. Now, I noticed on this vehicle, it's got a corrosion control module, which a lot of people are now looking at. They're looking at what's the best way to protect my investment in whether it's new or used. They're kind of the same price these days. What do you think is the best way to go as far as keeping your car as corrosive free as possible?
Well, I don't endorse these. I don't know enough about them, but I don't believe the science is there. But what I do endorse is a product, and I'll use the name Crown because it's a product we sell, but there's other products out there that work well. And it's where it's a body protection. You get it done once a year, and it puts a film on the undercarriage and inside the doors and all the common places where they will rust. Protects your brake lines, but it's something you need to do once a year. But I can see cars that have been crowned regularly, and they're in good shape.
Okay, and do you need to do it right from the very start when you buy a vehicle brand new, or could you start it, 3-4 years into its life?
It's a great question. You can do it when the car's 4 or 5 years old. Now, let's be honest, if the car's already started to rust, you may not stop it completely, but at least you're maybe going to slow it right down, because in order for a car to rust, you need water and you need oxygen. If you can take away the water or the oxygen away from that rust, you're going to slow it down.
Okay, thanks for that great information. We are going to come back the next 2 segments. We're going to talk about what's happening with electric vehicles and all the special maintenance that really has to be part of these vehicles, and there it is, there's one of them right there right now, and something that may surprise you folks. So we'll be back in about half an hour here at Eccles Auto Service in beautiful downtown Dundas. Isn't this a good looking car? It's the electric. Is it the future of cars? Who really knows? But we're going to talk about that today with Bruce Eccles, who was here at when it was Eccles Horse Service and not Eccles Auto Service.
Horse and buggy. We've been around that long. It seems like that at times. I'll tell you the truth.
But in the old days, it used to be, you used to change the plugs and the condensers, that kind of thing.
Plugs and points, and then electronic ignition came out in the 70s, and we were all concerned. Oh my God, no! Now we've gone from ignition points and plugs to all electric, and these little electric cars are amazing. I was just telling you earlier, this is like a golf cart on steroids. It's so much fun to drive. But the big misconception, Steve, is that people buy these EVs and for whatever reason they think they're like maintenance free, which is far from the truth.
Well, they don't have to have an oil change. They don't have to do all kinds of things. But what are the things they need to be concerned about and know ahead of time?
So this car still has standard braking system, just like your regular car. And one of the things is, with being an EV and having regenerating brakes, is often these brake calipers will start to seize up. Now in here are sliders. So this does this when you're putting the brakes on, okay? These sliders will stick or sometimes even seize up from not being used as much. So the brake will drag. Now you're using up more, in this case, electricity, and you're also wearing your brakes prematurely.
So because there's so much power in these new electric vehicles, you're going to put more strain on the braking system.
Well, perhaps you will.
Does that make sense?
You will, but what the thing is here, you want to free up these brakes or make sure these are free so they're not dragging. But to your point about the torque of an electric motor, which is so much different than an internal combustion, is when you're in this little car and you accelerate, you're torquing up that suspension, and you're also putting extra stress on the tires. And because EVs are so much heavier than a standard car, tires are wearing out far more rapidly than the standard tires. So the manufacturers are working hard now to bring out EV tires, special tires for EVs. And if you're not going to buy the special one, you should at least buy what's called an XL, which is extra load tire.
So you're going to pay more for those tires. Is the EV tire there now, or is it still?
Yeah, they're available now. I believe some manufacturers have them. And the whole idea is, if you think about this, and if you've driven an electric car, you folks out there that got an electric car already know, when you accelerate, that car, it goes. I mean, there's no lag. That car takes off. But of course, it's putting a lot of stress on the tires, and because it's a heavier vehicle to begin with, the tires are wearing out quickly.
So if you got a lead foot already of a gas vehicle, look out when you get an EV.
If you got a lead foot, get to know your tire dealer.
Okay, we're going to bring the car down in our next segment, our final segment, and just sort of look inside to peek and see what's going on in there and what sort of extra maintenance or maybe just different kinds of maintenance that are going on here in electric vehicles. Because I know a lot of people are looking at EVs right now, and the pros and cons are out there. You'll have to check out that for yourself, but we'll give you some more detailed information here at Eccles Auto Service here in downtown Dundas. Eccles Auto Service in Dundas, and this last segment is not going according to our original plan, folks. So this is different. Bruce here, Bruce Eccles, wanted me to try this. I've never driven an electric vehicle, but he says it's like a go-kart on steroids.
That's right.
These new little vehicles. Yeah. And we're going to talk a bit about maintaining them as we go along, but he says you got to try it. So we're doing this segment. Luke's in the back with his big camera. Not too happy, but we're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway, so just hit the. So there's no sound.
No, you can't.
That's the first thing I noticed.
Yeah. So bear in mind, this is just a regular automobile with regular brakes, so it still has a cooling system, and it still has a battery, and it still has things that need to be maintained, but it's an electric motor. Now, just give that a little gas, Steve. Now, just feel the torque of that little motor.
That moves.
Isn't that
moves.
something?
That moves.
So, of course, when you buy one of these cars, I think one of the selling points is just they're fun to drive.
And maintaining them is you have to be more attentive than you would with a general gas vehicle.
Well, I think the thing is that the misconception is because they don't have oil, there's this no oil change thing. But if they still need maintenance, whether the maintenance is maybe as frequent, I'd have to say the maintenance checks are not as frequent. But like I say, you still got to, you should still put winter tires on. You still should service the brakes. It's got a cabin air filter. It's got a cooling system. It's got a 12-volt battery. All these things need to be looked at. And as I said to you earlier when we were talking, is these cars do tend to wear out tires quicker, so you definitely want to get your EV in and have the tires and suspension components checked.
And if you got a lead foot, it's even going to be more lead filled.
And it's hard not to have a lead foot in an EV.
It is, but it moves around kind of nice. And I know that there's some of them that are run right from their pad right here.
Yeah,
they don't even have a drive.
That's right. The Teslas are like that. I would say this is more of the average man's EV. This is a car that's for everybody.
Do you like these electric vehicles?
I do. I'm nervous about the potential environmental impacts of how they get to the point of making a battery. I'm not so sure these cars are as as green as they are. They're green once they're done. There's no tailpipe emissions, but how did they get there? But they are very fun to drive. It is pretty cool, I have to admit, to plug your car in and drive by a gas station.
Okay, so if you're looking for an EV vehicle right now, is there anything specific you want to look at when you're looking at, say, you want to buy a used one? Like you did. You know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
But most people are not knowing what they should look for. So they look for a vehicle. What should they be most attentive to?
Well, the thing is with a used EV, I mean, these have a battery. And so if you're getting into an older EV, you've got the battery, this is the main battery that runs the whole powertrain. I'd be a little nervous about one that's over, like, say, 7 or 8 years old, because I think after that, you could be in for a fairly major expense if you have to replace that battery.
And that's the thing that I'm seeing now on social media is it costs up to $20,000 to replace the batteries when you have to, and that would scare a lot of people, I would think.
Yeah, it certainly would. And then it does beg the question, does the car become disposable?
So no matter what you're doing, whether you're driving an electric vehicle or standard gas engine, make sure it's maintained. Now's the time, as we said before in earlier segments, maybe to book your tires in.
Absolutely.
If not, get them done now. Is it a problem? Just a quick note on the tires. If you get them changed now and the temperatures, daytime highs are 13, 14 degrees, 15 degrees, is it a problem to do that, or do you really have to watch the temperature?
Steve, if you were driving a lot on the highway, I would say, you don't want to be having them on right now. The roads are obviously warm.
Yep.
But if you're driving to the grocery store, maybe church on Sundays type thing, you're fine. And a lot of our customers that commute, we don't put their tires on yet.
Okay, we're pulling back up to Eccles Auto Service here. I love this car.
I knew you would.
When you're going to get rid of it, make sure you call me.
I will call you right away.
But I don't think you're going to do it anytime soon.
No, this car's a keeper.
Okay. Well, thanks, Russ. This is a lot of fun. It's like a go-kart, you said, on steroids.
I told you.
Okay. That's it for now. We'll see you the next time.
Thanks, Steve.